Hello and welcome to the ScifiCollective podcast, and this week I am going to give my thoughts on the DC Universe Rebirth event. Alright, so about 1 or 2 months ago, the big DC Universe Rebirth book came out. I think it was like a 50-page or this 80-page spectacular thing. And going into it, I really didn't care and really didn't even want to bother getting back into DC, because about a year ago, when the whole Convergence thing happened, which was this clusterfuck piece of shit thing that didn't even make sense, and really pissed me off because I bought into it so much, and I bought nearly every one of the 2-issue spin-off things, like the Action Comics Convergence, or Justice Society Convergence, whatever the stuff is called. So I sank all this money into it, and it was a piece of shit event that barely made sense. I got what they were trying to do, and I think if they wanted to, they could have just done everything that this Rebirth event is doing, and have implemented it there, because it was essentially Crisis on Infinite Earths, but with, like, the different continuities, because every time a big event happens and the whole timeline gets retconned, all that stuff kind of goes away, but Convergence came out and said, no, it's like a timeline thing that Brainiac stole and saved, and this was now like the Crisis, and it seemed like a really interesting idea, which is why I bought into it so fucking much. But it was just such a letdown. It was using like the Earth 2 characters, which was fine. I liked the Earth 2 book. I liked Earth 2 World's End. That was all good. But I don't know, it just seemed really empty, or whatever, for whatever reason, I don't know. And then, really, the icing on the cake of how fucking awful it was that once Convergence ended, DC decided that they were just gonna fuck over all the characters and make their entire line essentially unreadable. I mean, it was awful, really. I mean, you had... what happened? You had Superman was depowered, Batman was dead, and it was Jim Gordon for who the fuck knows why. You completely got rid of the Green Lantern Corps, you know? Before Convergence happened, I know a lot of people shit on the Robert Venditti run of Green Lantern and everything that happened. I personally loved it. I thought, the Lights Out event, what's his name, Relic? Thought he was a really cool villain. I liked the war that was happening with those other alien races. I mean, the New Gods event, that was kind of lame because it really had no weight to it, because the whole time, like, all they could have done was say, hey, you know, we'll help you fight Darkseid, you know, just whatever. I don't know, it seemed kind of empty, but I still liked it for what it was. And when it all wrapped up, it seemed really cool. The Green Lantern Corps, I forget exactly how it ended, but it, like, tied up nicely. I liked what happened with Kyle Rayner and that whole storyline. But then they were just like, no, fuck it, Green Lanterns, in some parallel pocket dimension, or whatever the fuck they did. I don't know, they ended up splitting it into 2 miniseries. There was Edge of Oblivion, and I don't even know what the second one is called, or what the first one's called, I don't even know anymore. But whatever that first 6-issue miniseries was, I got all 6, but only read like the first 2 or 3 of them. And was just really disappointed in all of it. And what was happening in the main Green Lantern book with Hal Jordan, it was just really dumb. And I never really liked Hal Jordan. I always thought Kyle Rayner was cooler, Jon Stewart was more interesting, and Simon fucking Baz is the man. Once I read Green Lantern Zero, Simon Baz was my Green Lantern. And I always wanted him to get his own book. He appeared in like 20 panels since then. Like, we were promised he was going to be in Justice League of America, but he really wasn't. And he was kind of in the New Gods line, that whole event, so that was something. But finally, with the Rebirth, Simon Baz has something going for him. But anyway, so I never really liked what DC was doing. Like, all I really read was Harley Quinn and Batgirl, because Batgirl just wasn't affected in the whole Fletcher Babs Tarr thing. That whole run is good. Batgirl of Burnside is phenomenal. Go read it if you haven't. But then, so with the whole Rebirth thing, I really didn't care that much, didn't want to bother going into it. And I was like, oh, 50-page, 80-page spectacular, whatever it is, they're going to make it $6 or $8. I know for a fact. But then it came out, and it was only $3, and I'm like, alright, fuck it, I'll read it. And so basically what it was that Wally West of the pre-Flashpoint, because in the New 52 there's a Wally West who's black and related to Iris, whatever. Is what I think it is. I don't know. I don't read the New 52 Flash, but I do read the Rebirth Flash, and I'll get into that for a second. So regardless, there's a New 52 Wally West, but the Rebirth is using the old pre-Flashpoint Wally West. And so what it's basically is that he was, like, sucked into the Speed Force or removed from existence or something, and he's trying to get back. He's trying to break out of the Speed Force, but he needs, like, a tether on the Earth, you know? He keeps going to all these people. He's going to Batman, he's going to his ex-wife, he's going to whoever, and he's like, you know, don't you remember me? It's me, Wally, I need help, whatever. But no one can remember who he is, so they're just like, who? What are you talking about? And then he disappears. But then finally he reaches out to Barry, and he's like, Barry, it's me, Wally, I need help, and Barry doesn't remember him, and he's like, fuck, I'm gonna disappear forever, become one with the Speed Force, is what happens. So then he gives this amazing speech, like, every second was a gift, thank you so much for what you've done for me, I know you don't remember, but you mean the world to me, even though my world doesn't exist anymore. And it was, like, really touching, and then finally Barry's just like, wait, Wally? And they hug, and he's like, how could I ever forget you? It's this huge thing. And then Wally goes on to reveal that someone has stolen a decade from time. Because with the New 52 and Flashpoint, they were like, yeah, all the heroes have only existed for 5 years, despite the fact that Bruce Wayne has had 4 Robins, and whatever else, Superman's died and come back. They've only been around for 5 years. So basically, they're just saying, he said, like, someone has taken these 10 years from us, this whole decade of life and memories is missing, even though Wally has all the memories, and Barry is starting to get some of them back. He's like, you know, something's happening to us, and he goes, we're being watched, and on that last page is just the text box of, we're being watched, and you see Batman in the Batcave holding the comedian's blood-stained button. And I turn the page and see that, and start smiling, this big old grin, ear to ear. I start laughing. It's the greatest experience I've ever had reading a comic book, was opening the page to see that. Then I turn the page again, and you see the clock from Watchmen on Mars, you see it get reassembled, and you see the text boxes of Adrian and Dr. Manhattan saying, so John, did I do the right thing in the end? In the end, Adrian, nothing ever ends. Then you turn it again, and the clock that always ticked down to midnight, in the Watchmen as you go, like, issue by issue, ticks down to midnight, that clock is now reset. And I'm like, holy fuck, they're using Watchmen. Watchmen is in the fucking universe, and Dr. Manhattan, like, it's pretty much implied that he's the one who stole the 10 years. Because at the end of the Justice League event, that whole Darkseid, Doomsday War thing that was happening, at the very end, I think it was the dude, that new god who sits in the chair, whatever his name is, he just explodes. And you're like, what the fuck? But, excuse me. But now we pretty much know that that's Dr. Manhattan. So he's gonna be this huge villain, it seems like it's gonna be. And I can't be any happier. Fuck you, DC. Take all my money. You own me now. Holy fuck. Because, you know, Watchmen is just, like, my favorite comic ever. I think the story is amazing, the characters are phenomenal. The whole point is that it's basically saying, morality, who knows what the fuck is right or wrong anymore. I don't know. It's just, Watchmen's my favorite thing. And for DC to be like, you know what, we're gonna incorporate that now, I am a happy camper. Happiest I could ever be. That, like, thank you, Jeff Johns, for redeeming yourself after leaving Green Lantern and letting it go to hell. Even though you let Convergence happen, thank you, fucking thank you for DC Rebirth. Oh my gosh. And now it's July 6th that I'm recording this, and I just came back from the comic book store, and I got the Superman, Green Lantern, their new issues of now that it's the main series, and the Rebirth one-shot of the Justice League. So, excuse me. So, quite a few things have happened. I know we now have Action Comics, Detective Comics, Superman, Green Lanterns, Justice League now, Titans, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Now, currently what I'm reading and what I plan to read as they come out is I'm reading the Superman, the Green Lanterns, the Action Comics, Justice League, and the Detective Comics I'm going to keep up with. The Batman I don't really care about just because, I don't know, maybe the whole post-convergence thing left a bad taste in my mouth and I'm kind of over Batman. And I just prefer Batgirl more. Like, I'm going to read the Batgirl book and the Batgirl Birds of Prey book. I don't know, I just think Barbara Gordon's more interesting than Bruce. Really the only thing I think Batman has going for him in general is that his rogues gallery and his villains pool are so phenomenal. It's like, if I want to see the Penguin, I gotta go to Batman. If I want to see Two-Face, if I want to see Riddler, if I want to see the Joker, gotta go to Batman. He has the greatest villains of fiction ever. I don't think that's really disputable. And that's why I'm keeping up with the Detective Comics book, because it's not really Batman central. It's like a Gotham team-up book. There's Batman, Batwoman, Clayface, excuse me. Then they have like 2 or 3 other characters. There's Stephanie Brown and Cassie Kane, but they're going by different names. I think one of them's called Spawn or something like that. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read it. But that book's good. Oh, and Tim Drake is also in it. So that's cool. It's more of a team-up book, and I'll be able to get the rogues. So far we have 2 issues of Detective Comics, and both are really good. I just like where it's going. I hope it stays as the Bat team-up book, and it doesn't become a Batman book. Because if that happened, really for money reasons, I'd probably just end up dropping it. But then the Action Comics is phenomenal. You know, ever since way back 2 or 3 years ago now is when, it was 3 years ago that Forever Evil happened, and once that ended, Lex Luthor kind of incorporated himself into the Justice League, and I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh wow, this is just like after Secret Invasion that Norman Osborn incorporated himself into the Avengers, and he had that thing, what was it called? I think it was just called the Dark Avengers, but there was like an actual name of the organization that I'm like, the Thunderbolts maybe? I don't know, I'm not too much of a Marvel guy, other than Spider-Man and the Star Wars comics, but that's it for another time. Point is, I was like, oh, that's really cool. They're making, like, probably one of the biggest arch enemies ever, one of the biggest nemesis of DC, making him now, like, one of the pinnacles. That's an interesting idea. But the whole time that he was in the Justice League book, everyone was always like, fuck you, Lex, we're not letting you near anything. But finally, with the whole Darkseid thing, he ends up on Apocalypse and becomes like the champion of Apocalypse. And he decides to come to Earth and become Superman, because the New 52 Superman's dead. So we have the pre-Flashpoint Superman, who's in the Superman book, but Action Comics is Lex Luthor claiming to be Superman. And that's really good. I really like it. I don't know, just seeing Lex Luthor as Superman, I feel it, because I actually side with him in a lot of respects. It's not like with the fucking Superior Spider-Man thing, when Doc Ock becomes Spider-Man and we're, like, supposed to just accept it. No, because you know what? Yeah, he's wrong, and he's kind of insane and murders people, but he's saying, you know, it's not okay for humanity to be reliant on this god, on Superman. We need to foster our own thing. which in Superman Red Son, he's kind of proven true in that Wonder Woman ends up going to Superman. He's like, the people, they know that they need to save it. No, Superman makes the comment to Wonder Woman of, are we doing too much? People don't even wear seatbelts or life jackets anymore. Should we, haul back what we're doing? And that's Lex Luthor's fears. He doesn't want humanity to become so dependent on Superman, on this alien, on one beacon of hope. He's like, no, humanity's supposed to be our own thing, and we're supposed to protect ourselves. And that's a very nice propaganda, rose-tinted glass view of him, because, he is kind of evil and murders people and is a narcissistic asshole. But his base moral stance, I kind of agree with him to a certain extent. So it's nice to see him, in his own book, be really front and center. But the one thing, so I would definitely recommend Action Comics. It's currently my favorite Rebirth book that has come out yet. But so, spoiler, real quickly, is that it seems I don't know if they're gonna do it. It seems like they might do it, or they could just say, no, it's a clone or some shit. But Clark Kent is already back. The guy claiming to be the New 52 Superman is here already. And if they do that, that's really upsetting and is complete bullshit, because why even bother killing him off if the next month you're gonna do it, Lex Luthor could have pronounced himself Superman for any other reason, or just pronounced himself a hero for whatever reason he wanted to. There's no reason for him to be Superman, but just have Superman come right back. I don't know. You know what? If it happens, I'll probably be upset, but then still buy it anyway, because it'll probably still be a good book. But if that happens, I'd be kind of upset. But whatever, it's comics. In 10 years, and nothing that I'm saying right now will matter anyway. Which I really hope isn't the case. I hope the fact that they're making Action and Detective Comics their original numbering systems, so I think Action's up to 955 and Detective is 938 or 947 or something like that, gives me a little bit of hope that they're now gonna keep the numbering go, because I think Mike Bernardin from Fat Man on Batman actually sums it up perfectly when he's like, I want continuity because I want to care. I'm not going to care that Damian Wayne was killed, or I'm not going to care that Clark Kent was killed if I know that a few years later it's just going to be undone. We need some actual changes, and I want the continuity. I want we have 75 years plus of Superman, of history. We need to keep that, we need that to mean something, because why would, that's why I don't read any of the old canon for Star Wars, like the Star Wars Legends extended universe, because they don't matter anymore. They could be the greatest stories ever, but I don't care because it doesn't matter. Alright, but anyway, so moving from Action, which is phenomenal, I'll stay on the theme and go to the Superman book, which initially I wasn't really big on. It was just seeing pre-52 Superman, Lois Lane, and their kid, Jonathan Kent. It was really kind of like Little House on the Prairie, almost, the issue 1. Not the Rebirth #1, but the issue 1 of the ongoing. They were just chilling on a farm. But oh, Jonathan has heat vision. Okay. But the issue 2 was actually really good. There was kind of more of that father-son thing, which I think the book is ultimately going to be completely about. But then, spoiler, I guess, they go to Alaska or Antarctica or something, and rescue a boat and fight this giant octopus monster kind of thing. And you know what, that's good. That's Superman kind of level threats. And they have, so spoiler on the last page, looks to be some techno clone or some clone that has harvested the Kryptonian data information or whatever, called the Eradicator. So, that's a Superman level threat. That's what it's supposed to be, so I'm in for the ride. I'm gonna keep with it. Then next is the Green Lanterns, which I really wasn't too sold on. Like, I was gonna dive into it no matter what, because it's Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz. You know, Simon Baz is my Lantern, as I said previously, and it just sounds, it would be good, you know? It's fucking Simon Baz, and you got Jessica Cruz, who is brand new and is a very interesting character. I like her a lot. But it seemed a little flat. I think Jeff Johns helped with the Rebirth issue, but not, like, the number one of the ongoing. And I don't know, it kind of feels, how do I, there's a lot of repetition, I feel like, with comics as you read them throughout the years. Because, I just read in the Red Lanterns book, I saw Guy Gardner take Atrocitus down, and I saw him try to invade Earth with all these Red Lanterns before. And to now immediately just jump back into that, I'm kind of, like, on the fence, like, here we go again, I guess. But the issue, too, that just came out today, really changed my mind on that, I guess, because you see, there's a lot of Jessica Cruz background and character development, and the whole Red Dawn thing of, like, turning the humans into, like, these creatures of rage type of thing. That was also kind of from the last storyline from Red Lanterns that I was talking about, so it seems repetitive, but again, it's the last page, so spoiler. There's just Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, like, in the atmosphere looking at Earth, and you just see across the entire side of the Earth that they're staring at is the Red Lantern symbol, and it looks to be made of plasma, or, like, the red rage energy or something. And that's really cool, and you just see the rings saying they're like 1,076 humans infected, 1,100 infected, 1,200 infected with rage, immediate action required. Now I'm more sold onto it. I'm ready to go to now really have no doubts. But the one thing I'm not gonna pick up is the Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps book, because I just don't give a fuck about Hal. He's such, like, a boring character, and I know that Jeff Johns loves him, and he's never going away from DC as long as Jeff Johns is in power, which I hope he's in power forever, because I love Jeff Johns. But I don't know, he's just flat. It's like, Simon, Jessica, and Guy have more interesting stories. Kyle Rayner is a lot more powerful. Jon Stewart is also a much more interesting character, and the fact that he's used the Indigo Tribe ring at one point. I think he's used the Star Sapphire. Yeah, he was during post Jeff Johns run. Jon Stewart was using the Star Sapphire ring, and that was really cool. He's a lot more powerful as well, So Hal Jordan, he's just like, oh, that cool guy from 1959, whenever the Silver Age started. So I'm just going to skip that because I really have no interest. Same with the Green Arrow book. I think I forgot to mention Green Arrow. That is now up to issue 2. I really don't care about it. I'm sorry. I tried New 52 Green Arrow, and the first 2 story arcs were really good, but then when Ann Nocenti and Jeff Lemire jumped on, I stopped caring because the Ann Nocenti stuff was boring, and I didn't care enough to jump back on. And I don't like Arrow. I don't know, I think the show's kind of dumb and boring. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, because I love The Flash, and I like The Legends of Tomorrow, and I love Supergirl, but I don't touch Arrow, so I don't really care. But for your purposes, I'll just let you know, Green Arrow, it's called Green Arrow, but it's about Green Arrow and Black Canary. It's kind of a team-up book. So that's the thing. And same with Wonder Woman. I read the last, like, towards the tail end of it, the Meredith Finch line of it, and I thought it was fine. But then I went back and read some of the original New 52 stuff. What was it, Brian Azzarello or Buccellato? One Brian did The Flash, another Brian did Wonder Woman. Don't really remember. Either way, I really wasn't even into that either. It was, well, the first arc, it was something with, like, Zeus, or, no, it was Hera trying to chase this girl down, and I just didn't care. I don't know. Not my cup of tea, so not really gonna touch Wonder Woman. I think the titles I will jump into is the Batgirl stuff, Harley Quinn. I'm going to stick with Justice League, that I'm going to talk about in a sec. The Action Comics, the Superman. Supergirl I'm going to get with, because I love Supergirl. She's just a go-to character for me. One sec, I actually wrote down the stuff I'm going to be getting. Harley Quinn and The Flash I'm going to keep up with, because actually Flash and Titans are both phenomenal. There's Flash, which is just like, it seems like there are going to be more speedsters coming into existence, and Barry just dealing with that. But it's really cool because at the same time Barry is getting all these memories back from the old universe and before those 10 years that were taken away. And Titans is also a book to watch because that is just it's Wally West with the old Teen Titans, and he's basically with them and saying, yo guys, I remember this decade of time that was stolen, let's go figure out what the fuck is happening. So Titans, I think, if you loved the Rebirth book, like that big one-shot, or if you love Watchmen, you want to see where that storyline is going, Titans and Flash are the books to stick with, because Flash, he's constantly referencing that event, and he's saying, yo, Bats and I are gonna be collaborating to try to solve that, and Titans is literally just, alright guys, it's me, Wally, I'm back, let's go figure out what the fuck happened. So I think Titans, yes, Flash, but I think Titans more in particular is really going to be the breakout book, and Titans is going to be the one that's like, alright, here's how we're continuing the storyline. Because, at least with the Rebirth issue of Justice League, which is really just them getting together, it's really like nothing much happens other than the Green Lanterns deciding to come in. I guess, actually no, the main thing that happens is that we find out that no one on the League trusts the pre-52 Superman, but he's going to show up and join them anyway. It's really all that happens. So, I don't know, just my impression off that, I don't think they're really going to touch on the storyline of the Watchmen stuff too much. I think Titans is really going to be the one to do that, so Titans, I think, is the book to watch out for and to dive in while you still can. And I don't know if I mentioned, but Harley Quinn I'm going to still be reading because the Amanda Cotta and Jimmy Palmiotti on the Harley Quinn book is phenomenal. I think it is a bit of an either-or, like, you'll read one issue that is amazing and that genuinely makes you laugh and it's really interesting and it's Harley being Harley, and then the next issue is kind of an unreadable piece of shit. But I think there are good issues and bad issues. There's really only, like, a few that I could think of that I just can't read. But you have the main series, you have all these mini-series, you have all the Valentine's Day special, the road trip special, the April Fool's Day special, the Little Black Book, which I don't know when the next issue comes out, but it's going to be Harley meeting up with the bombshells, Harley, and I'm really going to be interested in that. I think that's going to be funny and just nice to see. I don't know. So I'm going to stick with the Harley Quinn stuff. But yeah, so basically my overall impressions, now that you're a half hour into this, is that definitely it's a go-to thing. I think it's going to be good. Pick it up. Rebirth is phenomenal.